The kitchen was loud with clattering dishes, sharp voices, and the smell of burnt food. The air felt thick. Cousins argued over the TV, someone spilled juice on the floor, and the radio blared a song no one was listening to. In the middle of it all stood Janelle, 17, her back straight, but her hands shaking slightly. Marcia stood across from her, red-faced and shouting, "You think you're better than us now? Walking around like you matter? You don't. You never did." Janelle didn't move. "I was just saying Mom wouldn't have wanted. Don't you dare bring your mother into this." Marcia snapped. "She left you, remember? Left you with me. And you think I wanted that? You've been nothing but a burden since the day you walked in." Janelle's chest rose and fell quickly, but she didn't break eye contact. "She didn't leave me. She died. And thank God she's not here to see what a useless girl you turned into." Marcia stepped forward. "Always quiet, always sneaking around. Like some little snake. What are you even doing with your life? You're nobody." Janelle's voice cracked. "That's not true. I got into." Before she could finish, Marcia slapped her hard across the face. The room went still. Even the cousins stopped talking. The slap wasn't the worst part. It was what came after. "You'll never be anything," Marcia said loud and clear. "Mark my words. You're nothing. You'll always be nothing." Janelle's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry because of the pain. It was something deeper. The worst part was a small voice inside her agreed. She turned without saying anything, walked to the small room she shared with 2 younger cousins, and quietly packed a bag. Just a few clothes, a book, a toothbrush. At the bottom of the backpack, folded between notebooks, was a letter. She hadn't shown it to anyone. A full scholarship. A college in another state. She walked out the front door as the yelling started again behind her. No one followed. The night was cool, the sky cloudy. She had no real plan. Just her backpack, the letter, and the shaky belief that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to stay small forever. Janelle was only 12 when her mother died. It happened fast, a sudden illness, and just like that, her world fell apart. After the funeral, no one really asked Janelle what she wanted. She was sent to live with her Aunt Marcia, her mother's older sister. Marcia didn't cry at the funeral. She didn't hug Janelle either. She just took her home. From the first day, Janelle knew she wasn't really welcome. Marcia didn't hit her often, but the words were worse. Cold stares. Short tempers. Constant blame. "Why are you always so quiet? Don't eat too much. You think food's free? You're not special, Janelle. Don't act like it." The house was crowded. Marcia had 3 kids of her own, and Janelle always felt like the extra one, the one who didn't belong. She shared a room with 2 cousins and kept her things in a small plastic bin under the bed. She didn't complain. She learned how to disappear, how to keep her head down, do her chores, and stay quiet. But at night, when the house finally calmed down, Janelle would take out books she borrowed from the school library. She read everything, novels, textbooks, anything she could find. School was the one place where she felt seen. Teachers praised her writing. She got straight A's. She never told Marcia about the scholarship she applied for. When the letters came, she hid them deep in her bag. Years passed. She left that house the night Marcia slapped her, and she never looked back. Now she was 25, a public defense attorney in a busy city, standing tall in courtrooms, arguing with confidence, wearing neat suits and carrying thick files. On the outside, she was calm and put together. But inside, there were still scars. She had built walls to keep the past out, and most days they held. Her current case was a tough one. A single mother had been charged with assault after hitting her child's teacher during a heated argument. The mother said the teacher was abusive and unfair. Janelle believed her. But it was messy, a lot of emotion, a lot of trauma. And too many parts of it reminded Janelle of her own life. The look in the mother's eyes, the fear of losing her child, it hit too close to home. Late one night, as Janelle sat in her office, the city lights glowing outside the window, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her look. "Hey, it's Tasha. I know it's been a long time. Can we meet? Please." Tasha, her younger cousin, the one who used to follow her around when they were kids, always asking questions, always curious. Janelle hadn't seen her in years, not since the night she left. She stared at the screen, not sure how to feel. The past she'd worked so hard to escape was suddenly knocking it. She didn't reply right away. But a day later, curiosity, or maybe something deeper, made her text back. "Okay, 1 hour. There's a diner on 8th and Main. Be there." The diner was almost empty. It was just after sunset, and the orange lights above the booths made everything feel a little softer, a little older. Janelle sat by the window, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee she hadn't touched. She watched the door. She wasn't even sure if Tasha would show. Then the bell above the door rang. Tasha walked in, looking thinner than Janelle remembered, her hair pulled back, dark circles under her eye. She saw Janelle and gave a nervous smile before sliding into the seat across from her. "Hey," she said softly. Janelle nodded. Hey. There was a long silence before Tasha spoke again. Thanks for coming. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't, Janelle said flatly. So talk. Tasha took a deep breath. It's about Marcia. Janelle's jaw tensed, but she said nothing. She's not doing well, Tasha said. She lost her job 6 months ago. Then she got sick. Something with her lungs. The house is falling apart. And now, she hesitated, she's being sued. Janelle raised her eyebrow. Sued? For what? Defamation, Tasha said. She posted online about her old boss. Said he harassed her. Named him, said some strong stuff. Now he's coming after her. Big lawsuit. She's terrified. Janelle shook her head slowly. You called me here to help her? Tasha's voice was quiet. We need a lawyer. No, Janelle said sharply. No. After everything she did? After how she treated me. Her voice rose. She made me feel like I didn't matter. She told me I was worthless. You want me to help her now? Tasha didn't argue. She just looked at Janelle with tired eyes. I know. She was awful to you. I remember. But you're the only one who ever got out. The only one who made it. Janelle turned her face toward the window, jaw clenched. She doesn't deserve you, Tasha continued. I know that. But we both know you're the only one who can help. And like it or not, she's still my mom. Janelle stood up. She couldn't take any more. Good luck, Tasha. She walked out of the diner into the cool night air. Her heart was pounding. Her face felt hot. She didn't know if it was anger or sadness. That night, she tossed and turned in bed. The past wouldn't let her sleep. Her mother's laugh, Marcia's cold voice, Tasha's small hand tugging at her sleeve. It all came back. She got up before the sun, went to her office, sat at her desk in silence. Then slowly she pulled the file from her bag. The lawsuit against Marcia. She opened it. Janelle sat across from Marcia in the living room of her childhood home. The walls were stained, the air heavy with dust and old memories. A part of her wanted to turn around and leave again. But instead, she cleared her throat and said, I'll take the case. But there are rules. Marcia didn't look at her. She stared at the TV that wasn't even on. No lies, Janelle said. No drama. No trying to twist the truth or blame anyone else. You're honest with me, or I walk. Marcia scoffed. So the girl with the fancy shoes came back to save us? I didn't come to save you, Janelle said sharply. I came because Tasha asked. That's it. Marcia gave a dry laugh, but said nothing more. The days that followed were tense. They met with Tasha to go over documents and timeline. Janelle tried to keep things professional, but every step was harder than it should have been. Marcia interrupted meetings, refused to answer questions clearly, and told a different version of events each time. I never said he touched me, she snapped once. I said he looked at me wrong. That's not the same. You accused him by name, Marcia, Janelle reminded her. Online. That is the same. You can't change your story now. He deserved it. Whether he did or didn't, I can't help you if you lie. Marcia crossed her arms. You think you know everything now, just because you wear a suit? Janelle stood up, fists clenched. No. I know what truth looks like. I had to learn the hard way. Marcia looked away, her lips tight. The court hearings began a week later. The opposing lawyer was sharp, cold, and clearly prepared to destroy Marcia's credibility. They brought up old jobs she'd been fired from, things she'd posted online years ago, even a video of her yelling at someone in a store. Janelle sat next to her at the defense table, her expression calm, but her hands shook under the table. She hated this. Not just the case, but being here beside Marcia, defending a woman who once called her a mistake. It got worse when Janelle was called to the stand as part of a character testimony. She tried to remain steady, but the lawyer pushed hard. Ms. Brooks, would you say your relationship with the defendant is positive? Janelle hesitated. We've had our differences. Did she raise you? Yes. Would you describe your upbringing as supportive? Janelle's eyes flicked to Marcia, who was staring at her with unreadable eyes. No, Janelle said quietly. The lawyer leaned in. Then why are you here defending her now? Janelle paused. Because she's still a person. And even people who hurt us deserve a fair defense. That night, Janelle drove home with her chest tight. She didn't cry. She hadn't cried in years. But she felt something heavy inside. Back at the house, she and Marcia had another fight. You made me feel like trash for existing. Janelle finally shouted, voice shaking. Every single day I lived here, I felt like I was unwanted. Like I ruined your life. Marcia stood by the sink silent. Then, quietly, she said, You didn't ruin anything. I didn't know what to do with someone like you. Someone like me? Janelle snapped. You were smart, Marcia said. You were driven. You didn't take crap from anyone, even back then. I knew you were going to get out. And I hated it. Janelle stared at her, stunned. I was scared you'd succeed, Marcia said, voice barely above a whisper, because it would prove how small I've always been. Janelle didn't say anything. She turned and walked to the other room. She didn't want to forgive. Not yet. But hearing those words, it shook something loose. The next day in court, Janelle stood with a different kind of strength. Not for Marcia. The courtroom was quiet. Everyone was waiting for Janelle to speak. She stood slowly, walked to the center, and looked at the jury. She took a deep breath. "This case isn't easy," she began. "It's not black and white. It's full of emotion, of pain, of things we don't always talk about." She looked over at Marcia. "The truth is, I know the defendant very well. I grew up in her house. And no, we didn't always get along. In fact, some of my worst memories live in that house." The jury shifted, listening closely. I won't pretend she was the perfect guardian. She wasn't. But that's not what this case is about. This is about whether a woman had the right to speak out. Whether she had the right to say, "This man made me feel unsafe." Whether we believe women only when they're polite or quiet or perfect. She walked a few steps closer to the jury box. Her voice stayed calm but strong. Marcia posted words online, words about what she says happened to her. The man she accused says it's a lie. But ask yourself this. What does she gain by making it up? Her job is gone. Her health is failing. Her house is falling apart. She paused. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones most in pain. I've learned that the hard way. But pain doesn't make someone evil. It makes them human. The room was still. Even Marcia was looking down at the table, her hands folded tightly. Janelle finished her argument. You don't have to like her. You just have to ask yourself, is it a crime to speak out when you're afraid? Or is it bravery? She sat down. The jury took hours to come back. Janelle waited outside the courtroom, hands cold, staring at the floor. When they were called back in, her heart beat faster than it had in years. The verdict, not liable. Marcia was cleared. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Marcia let out a shaky breath, but didn't say anything. Janelle gave her a quick nod. That was all. Outside, reporters gathered. Cameras flashed. "Miss Brooks, why did you take this case?" someone shouted. Janelle looked straight ahead. "Because everyone deserves a voice, even the ones who never gave me one." She didn't wait for more questions. She just walked away. A few weeks later, Janelle stood in a large hall filled with lawyers, judges, and law students. She wore a simple black dress. Her name had been called for one of the highest awards in the legal field, National Rising Attorney of the Year. She climbed the steps to the stage. Lights were on her. People clapped as the announcer spoke. From a girl once rejected by her own family to a fierce advocate for the voiceless. Tonight, we honor Janelle Brooks. The crowd stood, clapping louder. Janelle smiled softly, but her eyes scanned the back of the room. There, half hidden in the shadows, was Marcia. She didn't wave or speak, but she wiped her eyes with a tissue, watching the girl she once said would never be anything. Janelle turned back to the microphone, holding the award in her hand. Her voice was clear. Steady. "Thank you. This isn't just for me. It's for every person who was told they didn't matter. I'm here to say you do." The sun was setting, casting a soft orange glow over the porch. Janelle and Marcia sat side by side in old wooden chairs. The porch creaked under their weight, the same way it did when Janelle was a teenager sitting there alone, wishing for a way out. They hadn't spoken much since the trial ended. Just quiet moments. No more yelling. No more fights. Marcia cleared her throat. "I've been thinking about what to say to you," she began, her voice rough. "How to say sorry for all the years I..." Janelle held up her hand gently. "You don't have to say it." Marcia blinked. "But I should. I forgave you a long time ago," Janelle said. "Not for you. For me. But I had to prove something first." "Prove what?" Janelle looked out at the street where she once walked away with nothing but a backpack. "That I could become more than what you said I was. That I wasn't trash. That I mattered." Marcia lowered her head. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, folded photo. The edges were worn, almost falling apart. She handed it to Janelle. It was a picture of her mother, smiling, holding baby Janelle on her hip. Janelle stared at it for a long moment. "She'd be proud," Marcia whispered. Janelle didn't reply, but she held the photo close. Later that week, Janelle met with a real estate agent. The house would go on the market. It was time to let go. Too many painful memories lived in those walls, but the money would have a purpose. She set up a scholarship fund for girls like she once was, girls who felt invisible, unwanted, trapped, girls who just needed one chance. She named it after her mother. A few days after the fund was announced, Janelle visited the woman she had defended in her other case, the single mother accused of assault. The woman was living in a shelter now, trying to start fresh. Her kids had been placed in foster care. Janelle sat across from her in a small meeting room. "I have good news," she said, smiling. "The judge reviewed your case again. You're getting custody back." The woman burst into tears. Janelle handed her a tissue, her smile soft but steady. "You fought for your children," Janelle said. "Now it's time to fight for yourself." As Janelle walked out of the building, she looked up at the sky. It was clear, open, wide like the future. The sun was warm on her face as Janelle walked through the schoolyard. Laughter filled the air. Children ran across the grass, their backpacks bouncing, their smiles wide. A banner hung above the playground. Brooks Hope Scholarship Launch Day. Janelle smiled as she passed a group of girls sitting in a circle, drawing with colored pencils. One girl looked up at her, brown skin, big eyes, quiet and watchful. She looked just like Janelle at that age. Janelle paused, heart full. In her mind, a voice began to speak, her own, calm and strong. They said I wouldn't be anything, and maybe for a long time I believed them. I believed I was small, invisible. A mistake. She walked along the sidewalk, watching teachers hand out books, volunteers setting up tables. A young girl handed her a flower and ran off giggling. But pain can be a compass, too. It can show you where not to stay. It can push you forward, even when you don't know where you're going. She looked up at the school building, clean bricks, fresh paint, open doors. A place of beginnings. I didn't become who I am in spite of the pain. I became who I am because I chose not to let it define me. A little girl waved at her through a classroom window. Janelle waved back. My name is Janelle Brooks. And if you've ever been told you're nothing, I promise you, you're more than enough. Hey besties, thanks so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed Janelle's journey from rejection to triumph, don't forget to like, share, drop a comment, and subscribe for more drama-filled stories. See you in the next one. Her friends invited everyone except her to their girls' trip, so she booked one seat beside. Guess who? Bye for now.